Hello, everyone. This is Derek Davis of Jurassic Time, and we have some exciting new details today. The official Jurassic World channels and Universal and everyone else associated with the movie, they released a new, basically behind the scenes kind of sizzle reel called Classic Jurassic. It's only about a couple minutes long, and it mostly just has reused footage from the trailer that we've seen before, so not really any new like actual movie footage, but we have some behind the scenes discussions with some of the cast members like Scarjo and Jonathan Bailey. And we also have David Kep, which was a nice surprise to see him on there. And he said something kind of interesting that we've kind of heard before, but it was nice to hear it said this way. And the quote is, "One of the first things Steven and I said was, we got to get that raft sequence in some way." And he's referring to the one from the novel. And, if you see this footage yourself, the link will be in the description if you want to check out the whole reel. You will see several behind the scenes glimpses that reveal more of the raft sequence. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of look at the new behind the scenes shots, kind of shot by shot, specifically for the raft sequence. Since I do want to kind of compare it to the novel a bit from, what we are seeing, and also some of the storyboards that you may have seen in one of the previous videos I posted. And there's also a couple storyboards I don't think I showed in the last video. I didn't have time to double check, but in case they weren't shown, I will show them here. They kind of show more of the rafting itself. So without further ado, let's go to this shot right here. Okay, so here we have, and the character names I got sourced from the Lego set, so these are the actual character names. I'm not making these up, I promise, unless Lego's wrong, which is possible, but I don't think they are. So the character we see here on the dock is Teresa Delgado, and she's the teenage girl of the family, and she is pulling this big yellow cube. And as we can see in this storyboard right here, originally from the original Jurassic Park, we have Grant walking along the dock with a raft cube. So, they switched out Grant with Teresa Delgado. So, and now she's on the dock in this shot, and she is pulling on the cord that will inflate the raft, as we see. And it's kind of interesting to note that off to the side here, we got Teresa here at the dock, but then you have the rest of her family right here. And just to remind everyone, the little girl in the family, her name is Isabella Delgado. The father's name is Ruben Delgado. And then the teenage boy, his name is Xavier Dobbs. So I'm not sure if he's like a cousin or boyfriend of the teenage girl, or someone else. So, but he's part of the group that's right here on the shoreline. So it's interesting that they're over here and she's over here on the dock getting the raft ready for them. I'm wondering if they started off here and then they saw that there was a dock with like a raft storage. So maybe she volunteered perhaps to go get it, or maybe she just happened to be on that side while they were over there. Maybe they got separated initially. We'll find out. But so here it is, another shot of the raft being inflated, and you can see, since this is a behind the scenes shot, clearly they're kind of inflating it themselves, I guess. It's kind of interesting with just like, tubes, cables coming out of it right there. But anyway, so that's interesting. And again, here's some more of the original storyboards. So again, in this case, Grant is on the dock with the raft cube and he inflates it the same way. And, in these storyboards, when it inflates in the water, it kind of causes a noise, and, they're trying not to wake the sleeping T-Rex that is along the dock. And as we saw from the other trailer, there is definitely a T-Rex around there. So maybe she was being just as cautious. So anyway, in the next shot, we have the entire family. We can see them all right there. See, there's There's Isabella right there, and then Xavier, and then Teresa, and then Ruben right there. And I just want to point out that I'm so happy that it is a raft. Because I know for a while when the trailer came out, we didn't see any glimpses of an actual raft, but we saw some of the other characters in kind of canoe type boats, which is, that would have been cool too if they had just kind of switched it out. But I still think having, this thin inflatable material is a lot more, scary to be that close to the water line, to have something that can be easily, deflated and pierced, and it's not much between you and the dinosaur, just that rubber. And I'm also really happy that they made it be yellow, because if people remember the Lego sets, for whatever reason they made the raft orange, and I was like, oh no, I hope the the raft isn't orange. But no, it's yellow. And I like that because I don't think it's described as yellow in the book, but at Jurassic Park the ride, at Universal Orlando in Japan, unfortunately no longer at Hollywood, but even there it was like a yellow boats that were made to look like rafts, even though they clearly weren't rafts at those theme parks. So I think that's definitely some cool synergy right there. I'm sure that was kind of done on purpose as well. But I'm just very happy that, for one, it's a raft and that it's yellow. So yeah, they're, along this river and they're paddling. And when you see the footage, they're paddling very quickly. Like, they're definitely trying to go as fast as they can. Maybe they think the T-Rex isn't going to come after them. I mean, who knows? And hopefully little Isabella doesn't start coughing like Lex did in the book, but we'll see. So here's some more original storyboards. Again, they're just kind of going away from the dock in the raft. In this case, it's Grant, Tim, and Lex. And so, they just kind of switched out the characters basically, but it does definitely feel like the same scene is happening here. So here's another angle of them, again, paddling very quickly in the footage, all four of them, going along this river to presumably get away from the T-Rex that was at the dock. And here's another original storyboard of that from the Jurassic Park version. So now this is definitely probably the most interesting shot. So clearly somehow the raft has been capsized, and I believe that's little Isabella right there, if I'm not mistaken. Apologies if I'm wrong. But, I'm like, so there's a silhouette right above her using a cardboard cutout of a mouth. And it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I guess we should all assume it's the T-Rex that this mouth is supposed to represent. But, there could be other dinosaurs along the shoreline as well. We don't really know for sure. But I guess it would make sense because, later on in the trailer, we do see it capsize. But anyway, so here's some of the storyboards that I mentioned, that these are like the only real good look we have of these, unfortunately. I did use a gigapixel to make them bigger. So hopefully I can kind of not zoom in that much, but, hopefully we can get a little bit closer. There we go. That was too close, but now we're good. Oh, well, these live things. Okay, so yeah, some of the ones on the left are from the Lagoon sequence, which I have scans of and I've shown before. But the ones on the right, this is like the only look we have. This is from a auction from Tim Lawrence, who sadly passed away, and I did a video about him and what he did for Jurassic Park last year. But yeah, so unfortunately, these are the only glimpses we have of these boards that he used to have. And as we see, there's a T-Rex, in the water, and it's coming out, and you can see in this shot right here, it is coming up from under a raft. So I think it probably is the T-Rex capsizing the raft then in this case. So just kind of cool to see more glimpses of the Jurassic Park version of what this scene could be. But we'll get to that in a minute. So here's another shot of that. There's the T-Rex right there in the water and, coming up from under the raft. Okay, so this is I believe the last shot that was basically new from that sizzle reel regarding the lagoon sequence. So there's the same raft, but now we're definitely in, kind of more enclosed space where there's like a thicket of vegetation. And that definitely makes you think of the novel where the T-Rex is coming from between the trees trying to grab it, Grant and the kids in the raft. And maybe that's going to happen in this sequence, but I guess eventually the raft is going to have to go ashore at some point for the characters to get off, if they all survive. I think they will. They're in a Spielberg movie. I think the family unit at least is safe, but yeah, you never know. So yeah, it's kind of cool that they end up in this kind of environment at some point, this kind of more enclosed, more intimate environment where things can be lurking in the jungle around them and get close enough to get to the raft. Which brings me, here's more of those storyboards, but I want to specifically zoom in on this. So clearly these are the two Dilophosaurs from the novel. And again, this is from the original Jurassic Park storyboards. But so they did plan to have them along the riverbank, just like in the novel. So we've already seen a Dilophosaurus in the previous trailer. So I'm wondering if they'll encounter more of them or another dinosaurs along the river. And I feel like it would be in this sequence right here if that happened. That's just my guess. So, and then they showed these shots, these same shots from the original trailer. So that's just my brief little look at more of the lagoon sequence from Jurassic Park. And it is pretty exciting that we are getting more of it realized than I kind of thought we were. I thought it would just be very loosely based on it, but from everything that we've seen, it just feels like they really are recreating it. And again, like even with this shot, I know we kind of talked about it before, but I think this is when they're capsized. And this happens in the novel as well, like where they're, rafting. It's like after the lagoon sequence, they're kind of on the river for a while. They get, they go over a waterfall actually in that version. And then that's how they basically get capsized from going over the waterfall. And then the T-Rex kind of starts chomping at them, just like you're seeing here. And at one point, Lex gets grabbed by her life preserver. And actually, let's go back and see. I'm not sure if I think she's got one on. Can't really tell in that shot, but she probably does. Let's see if we can zoom in at all. It looks like she's got something on her back. So, oh yeah, that probably is the backpack that, well, I probably shouldn't say because they were pictures that were not supposed to be online, but they were online. But let's just say that there's a backpack. There's a backpack out there that she has. So that could be what that is, and not a life preserver. So I guess we'll find out. But anyway, it's pretty exciting to see more of this realized. And it's definitely one of my favorite sequences from the original novel. And I think it is for many. And it is cool that, Kep mentioned that both him and Spielberg wanted this sequence back in, because I didn't think Kep really wanted it back. If anyone goes and looks back at old interviews from Jurassic Park, he always made it sound like, oh, well, it just kind of slowed the story down, especially if it was in a movie form, for the original Jurassic Park. So I don't know if he changed his mind or if that was just kind of like a way to ease the pain of people who enjoyed the novel. Like, oh, I'm sorry your favorite sequence wasn't in here, but, it just wouldn't have worked anyway. That kind of, like explanation, like, oh yeah, it wouldn't have worked. Trust us. Even though I think it's pretty clear it would have been too expensive at the time to realize, even though they kept condensing the sequence more and more from every script draft. But I guess it is telling that it was in every single draft of the script from all the different writers until Kep came along. It was actually his idea to get rid of it, supposedly. So anyway, I just thought it was fun to have a little look at this. And, More to come, I'm sure. I'm sure there's going to be an actual trailer, an actual second trailer coming soon that will show us even more of this sequence. So that will be pretty exciting. I think they mentioned that it was part of the CinemaCon footage, but of course that has yet to surface. But supposedly there is some kind of thing going on at the end of the month that will show more of stuff from CinemaCon in theaters for a couple days. I think it was in Regal. It could be other places too. But I do wonder now if it's just going to be this reel that we saw, the classic Jurassic reel that we just saw and we just analyzed. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. But if there is more, I will definitely be back here talking about it. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day and looking forward to more.